So what did you do before entering UX? And then also like, how did you get into UX?
Before I became a UX designer and started the whole design journey, I was living in a van and I was traveling around Europe and I was a tattoo artist. Now it might seem like, wow, that's completely unrelated. How on earth do you find a connection from that? The thing that I liked about tattoo artists is the way of not just designing the individual tattoo, but also how they all work together, like on an arm, for example, create one bigger picture. At some point, I think it was towards the end of COVID, the van life was very, very difficult in Europe. And I didn't really want to just be in a van to then park in a supermarket parking lot. So I had to think, and with the support of my now wife, found UX design to be something that I was naturally drawn to without really knowing that it exists. So that's how I started my design journey. I actually started with a boot camp. I didn't teach everything myself. I did the course, I did it all, but I very quickly realized that there has to be more to it because they didn't cover anything on like how to actually apply any of the stuff that they taught you, how to actually land any clients, how to actually get paid for the stuff that they teach you. They teach you how to do it, but there's still quite the gap between I'm learning something new to I have a career and I'm being paid. So I had to pick that up from trying different things, and I'm sure we'll get into mistakes and stuff later on as well. But that's like the short version of how I went from something completely unrelated to then starting my UX career and starting to work as that. How about you? I'm sure you have a crazy story like that as well.
Yes, I didn't have such a awesome sort of background. Like, it sounds fun and super adventurous. Mine was, I moved to Vietnam in 2013 and had a 6-month ticket. And 4 months in, I basically ran out of money traveling, right? And then my parents had retired, so they moved back to Vietnam from England. And they were like, okay, Guy, you should probably find a job, extend your travel, earn enough money, or whatever the plane ticket is, then you should just go home. I luckily fell into tech because I was like, okay, I just need a job. So I knew that tech was a place I loved, just so many amazing people and so casual the environment. However, I was doing a lot of design work being a digital marketer. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to try and do freelance and try and get some marketing clients, doing some marketing for startups. I touched a lot on design and kind of fell into it. A year and a bit later, I got hired as a product designer. It's funny because what you said, you didn't even know what UX design was. I was hired in a product design role without even really understanding or knowing what UX was. My first week, I had to design an Android app, and I was like, what the hell is, like, how do I do that? I only applied for this UX job because it had the word design in it, but I basically designed a website in Keynote because Photoshop wouldn't run on my computer. So I redesigned their website that had 60K visitors, quite a lot at that time, just with a presentation software. And that was just like, oh, this is really fun. That's how I got in, and I've been in ever since. So it was very random and very lucky at the same time. I wanted to ask you, Oscar, when would you first called yourself a UX designer? Was it that first client?
That's so funny that you ask this specific question because that's something that I wanted to mention anyways. I did a 9-month boot camp, and after month 7, I landed my first full-time job. I actually got hired as a UX designer before I was a qualified UX designer. I think the reason why I got hired was because I, at that point, already identified as a UX designer. And I think that shift came right around the 6 months mark in, when I felt like I had most of the principles down to the point where I felt comfortable designing something from scratch and then shipping it. And that is also right around the time where I did my first freelance project. So around 6 months into me learning design, I said, okay, I am a designer now. I'm going to tell everyone who wants to listen that I am a designer and that I am offering these services. And through that, my wife's dad knew someone who needed a website. And I think I built that thing for something ridiculous, like 500 euros. Like, I wanted to charge because it made it feel real, and I don't want to work for free. And I still don't really recommend people working for free because I just don't think it's fair. So I charged like a small amount, like a website that I would probably charge like 10 times as much for it now. I mean, a small start, and just the validation of me identifying myself as being a UX designer or a designer in general, and then people saying, hey, I need something from you, and then you being able to deliver what they needed, just gave me the confidence to say, you know what, this is proof of concept. I am saying I'm a designer. I have delivered exactly what they wanted. They're happy with it. I got a great testimonial from it. I even got a little bit of money. So what's holding me back now? Then I just kept introducing myself as as a UX designer, and that's actually how I then landed my full-time role as well. So the transition, to come back to your question, was roughly at the 6-point mark. It doesn't mean that it has to be the 6-month mark for everyone. It just needs to be a point where you feel comfortable of actually applying everything that you learn to the point where you can ship something. And I think at that point you are a designer because you can actually deliver something.
So at the 6-month mark, you gain all these skills. How did you go about getting your client? You mentioned that you just told everybody you knew, and that was enough, or did you do anything else?
So my first one was just word of mouth, just me literally telling everyone that I was doing this new stuff now, and that if you know someone who needs a website, just let me know. And then they're either going to say, yes, I need one. They're going to say, I know someone who needs one. Or they're going to say, I don't know anyone. I don't need one. But if I do, I'm going to refer you. So this is already like, if you tell enough people, that's a great starting point and a great network to kind of get your first client. And then once you have your first client, you can get that testimonial, right? And then with that, you have social proof, and then the ball gets rolling. Only doing that, I guess I was pretty lucky to get my first client just through that. Looking back, obviously now I would have done things differently. I would have massively played the social media card, the whole sharing card, being part of the design community, and everything I've learned about personal branding in the following 2 years after that. I would have for sure had many, many more clients than I had then, when I was only telling people that I randomly bumped into on the street that I was doing design now.
That makes sense. Let's pivot, because it sounds like you tried a bunch of things. I want to talk about potential things to avoid early on, like these things mattered and then these things were mistakes. Anything come to mind when I say that?
Yeah, so different things. Mistakes would be...
Want to listen to the full conversation? Click the video on screen now. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join us live. Oh, wait. Okay, fine, you don't have to join us for the live stream, but if you like stuff like this, then click that subscribe button. I'll see you on the inside. Bye!